Los Vecinos is a community of the neighbors who come together to play and perform both salsa and cumbia music to a variety of audiences throughout the Los Angeles area and abroad. Los Vecinos was playing at a restaurant I was dining at, and I picked up their card and sent them a DM. A couple of weeks later, Lorenzo and Vanessa had me at their wonderful home to discuss the purpose and identity behind Los Vecinos.
The concept was to play with our friends.
The deeply rooted history in the music they play, how they function as a business, and to teach me how to play some of their sweet tunes.
That was so fun!
I had a blast learning about something I knew absolutely nothing about beforehand, and I hope you do too. Please welcome Los Vecinos.
I'm Lorenzo Vasquez. Met Max over in Silver Lake while we were performing in my band, Los Vecinos. Yeah, it's great to be here.
I am Vanessa Mardueño, and I'm also in Los Vecinos, and I'm happy to be here.
Where are you from?
I'm from San Gabriel Valley here in California.
Okay.
I grew up here mostly in Chino and Whittier,
Okay.
La Habra area, and now we're in Huntington Beach. So Los Vecinos was developed with my brother and I and another percussionist. And the concept was to play with our friends, hence the Los Vecinos, the neighbors, people you know. Because when you play with people you know, you have a better connection as opposed to just a studio musician or a freelance musician, you know, which happens a lot. And sometimes it's good, but like I said, the commitment is more important, I think, for the music. And so Los Vecinos was developed out of that idea that we keep the members close. We use our close friends, and that way we can have a developed sound, really.
There you go. So what was the name of your band that you were in before?
Well, I work in a few different groups, and because as a musician here in LA, if you want to do it for a living, you have to have more than one source of income. You can't just rely on one band or one artist. You can, some people do, and they do it for a little while, but those people always, their positions are always like, you can come and go. They're expendable. And I know like people who have played with Stevie Wonder, like percussionists who are just, like buddies of mine. They ended up playing with Stevie Wonder or like the Backstreet Boys or Aaron Carter.
Yeah.
Like some old
Classic stuff.
Yeah, some old pop stuff, And as a musician, like I said, you have to have different sources of income. So you play with many different groups. Some people just freelance. They play with whoever calls them. But I like to commit to bands and try to develop a sound. Even if the music isn't completely original, I feel that spending the time and committing like that develops something way more rewarding, something that a lot more people are going to like, and it's still organic. Nothing is forced. There's no, we're not pulling some studio musicians and, we're not doing anything like that. We're just keeping it the same players or this rotating a few different players if we have to. It's like I said, everybody works, everybody does other stuff. And yeah, just commit for the sound. It's all for the music, all of it.
Yeah. So you talked about developing a sound and finding a sound.
Yes.
Can you both describe that process and like how that definition differs for both of you and what it means to both of you?
Developing a sound? Well, I think your sound comes first of all from all the music that you like, right? You pick the music you like and you say, I want to learn this song, I want to learn that song. And then you end up blending those sounds together. And so being that we're both from Mexican backgrounds, my parents are from Mexico, are immigrants from Mexico. Not his parents, but for other generations. But still of Mexican descent, we bring that culture along with us, right? So we grew up listening to salsa, cumbia, and all kinds of other sounds, that are part of that culture, and mariachi, yeah. And then you come here and you're raised here, and then you hear hip hop and you hear, reggae and rock and all of that stuff too. So I think having that diverse background in music, you end up just picking out those things, those sounds that you really, really love. The music that makes you cry, the music that just calls you. So that's how you develop the sound, I think. That's how I do it. I've been drawn to music in such a powerful way since I was a baby. Like my dad is a singer, and when he would play the guitar when I was a little girl. That would be the only thing that would keep me quiet. So it's like something that calls you, and the sound. So I think it's more of a feeling, for me at least. It's whatever makes me feel passionate.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. But for me, as a player in like a rhythm section, because I play bass, I'm always playing and working with other people. And so I really dig the collaborative effort that comes through running a band, or being in a band. Because a lot of times your personal ideas will work, developed out of your what you grew up listening to. And sometimes they won't, and you really don't know until you have a sense of like hearing it again, on playback or on an album or something, and you're like, oh wow, that was really good. We're in the moment, we all work together and develop something together. And I feel that togetherness is it's so valuable. Like I don't really get it anywhere else.
The connection you get between you and the people you're performing with.
Yeah,
When
so
you're
we all bring a different sound, and so when you put those sounds together, hopefully you're going to create something unique, something that is each one of us put together, kind of like John Lennon and Paul McCartney, right? When they're together, they made amazing music compared to
John and Yoko?
apart, to me, Paul and John just made the best music together, better than alone,
Yeah.
Just combining of energies.
Yeah, and it's that like humbling yourself. You want your ideas to sometimes to just come through, be executed. That's my idea, but that's not always the best thing. It's a very prideful way of going about it, and you can humble yourself by just saying, okay, we'll try what you want. And there's that give and take where you're just sharing, and the ideas flow, and it just becomes this big whirlwind, and then you have a song, and it's like, cool, there it is, or it's established, it sounds cool, and you can go back and listen and change it if you need to, and it's fun. It just becomes super fun. I've recorded with Adonis Puentes. He's a Cuban artist from Canada, on his first solo album, Sabor a Café, and that effort was very collaborative. He had written the songs on his acoustic guitar, very simple, and we all got together, worked them out in the studio, spent a lot of time, coming home like 4 a.m, like super like hyped up because it was so exciting. And what came out of that was just magic, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. It was just something, like I get the chills thinking about it because it was so, we were all just so in the moment, and we're all giving and taking and just sharing. And the whole album is wonderful.
What is each of your favorite part about the collaborative music process? Like if you could like name one distinct thing, maybe it's a word or like, and he just talked about like a time, like do you have a time that you may recollect that was similar to that, where you had a bunch of different musicians with their own unique sounds coming together to create something like incredible?
Yes, I prefer to work with other musicians because they think of things I don't think of, and they always make my songs better. So I can come with an idea, like just a little seed, and then they just work all around it and get inspired by whatever I brought to the table. So it's the best thing, is working with other musicians that are awesome as well. They make your music better. They really do, and I think that's my favorite part is when that happens, and all of a sudden this idea I had becomes something way better than I could have done it on my own. That's awesome for me.
Yeah, for me it's the sharing. It's the sharing. Like,
Yeah.
I've come up with ideas, and I play in a Cuban salsa band called Rumbanquete, and we've done 2 albums, and we all write the songs together. So it's the same sort of process. We have singers who are actually from Cuba, and they have songs just real basic. They might have like more ideas, like horn parts or something, you know, on top of the song or with the song. And we take what they got, we'll record it, and we'll start writing to it together. And some of these people that I've worked with in that band are like pretty high up there when it comes to like musicians and musicianship and status. Because you know, there's people who are beginners, and there's people who are veteranos, or they're veterans, and they've been doing it for a long time. And I remember one time I was like, oh, I got this idea, you know, and I kind of tried to shove it in because I thought it was really cool in my head. And this percussionist, he's like, yes, you know, and that feeling of the sharing is just so wonderful. It's just like, oh, you know, you're opening up to everyone. And I like that feeling. And it happens when you're playing live even, you know, when somebody's improvising, just everything. When you're playing live music, it's always constantly going, that sharing.
Yeah, and that's actually the unique thing about Los Vecinos is that because we don't have set musicians, we use different people all the time. A lot of the guys, the terceros and the pianists, they will improvise. They'll create solos right on the spot, you know. And it's more of a community. Los Vecinos is a community of musicians, and we use different whoever's available really, because everybody's working in other bands.
But,
like,
but there's some people I don't call the.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
some musicians
We
I
only
don't work with because I'm not really friends with them.
Yeah,
you know?
we only call people we like and we trust. Obviously.
People who are part of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Yeah, part of the community that he created. Really, it's his project.
Yeah, and that's been such a fun group now that Vanessa's in it, and because we've been branching out and playing more boleros,
Different styles of music.
different styles, and people compliment. You know, they're like, "Oh, you guys did Latin jazz. I like your variety. You did this, you did that," and it's fun for the musicians too. It kind of keeps them on their toes because you're playing the same thing all the time. For a musician, it could get boring.
Yeah.
So, how do you maintain a position where you're not having that repetitiveness that you just talked about, and you're playing new things? Is that, I mean, I bet that just comes with playing in like multiple bands, right?
Go ahead.
Well, I think I'm the person always pushing new songs. I get bored easily, so I'm always like, I want to learn this song, I want to learn this song, and then I show him the song, and then he learns it. He likes to learn new music, and then he pushes it on me. So it kind of like starts with me, and then he creates the charts for the musicians, and he explains it to them, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This is your solo part. Like, make something up, all right? You know. So really, that's how we end up pushing the guys to do new music. But because a lot of time it can happen that way, that they just want to do the standards because it's easy, you know, or like it's just sometimes it gets tedious. Like you get into this routine, like this is what I do for a living, and let's just get it over with. And we
Like schoolwork. That's
Yeah,
that's an
yeah,
interesting
it can
comparison.
Just enough to get by.
it can become a job,
Yeah.
you know, and this is not my full-time job, so I always want to just do fresh stuff, you know. I have a separate job, but it's his full-time job. I always try to bring the new stuff in, and he always does the rest.
Well, and I see how it's interesting because you have, oh gosh, wow, I had a thought and then I lost it. One sec.
Well, can I
Go for
speak
it.
on the repetitiveness?
Yeah. I was going to comment on that too.
For me, learning the style of music, I learned it while focusing on that repetitiveness. Because a lot of Latin music, a lot of the rhythms come from Africa, and they come from different tribes in Africa. And they used the music pretty much for religious reasons. And the rhythms they played were repeated over and over and over and over. And maybe there might be a shift and a change in the rhythm. But it was like that because it would create like a trance, you know. And there's that groove that you're engulfed in it, you know. It just surrounds you, and you're attracted to it. I was. And so like when I started learning, it was like, okay, play this one chord over and over. Or play the clave over and over. Just, you know.
Every song has that in salsa.
Really?
Yes.
That same beat?
Just over
Pretty
and over
much, yeah.
again.
Wow.
But you can flip it around, and so so there's that repetitiveness, which is a really like present concept in the music. You know, it's always there, and reggaeton, and mariachi. I mean, pretty much almost anything.
It's like the heart of it.
Yeah. Well, you have something repeated, and that's when it grooves. You know, and then with the African stuff, it's even more deeper because they used it for chants and for dancing, like for days on end, or you know, I don't know what, you know. And it was brought over here because of slavery, and you know, there's a whole deep history behind it all. And you know, Cuba has their own way of using it. Puerto Rico has their own way of using it. The U.S. and New York had their own way of using it when they commercialized all the music and made it into salsa, like in the 60s. And it branches out to Colombia, to Mexico, to everywhere, you know. I mean, because of slavery, you know, that's one positive thing that happened, I think. I hate to say it, but through slavery, you know, there was just a mixture and a bringing over of their culture. You know, in Cuba, they had dock workers, and they were all negros. They were all black, and they would take a break and sit on the crates, okay, and they would start playing on the crates, on the boxes, cajons, and they could only do it when their supervisor or their boss wasn't around. You know, so they're just sitting there, you know, they stop playing and they're like just chilling. As soon as the boss comes, they're just sitting there. You know, and I played with Francisco Aguabea, who was like that. You know, he came from Cuba. His parents were probably from Africa. You know, if not, his grandparents definitely were. And this guy he's like a Latin jazz legend. You know, he played commercial Latin jazz. He recorded with the Doors. He recorded with all kinds of people. And playing with him was just like heavy. It was heavy. You know, and it was just Latin jazz stuff, but it was heavy. You know, like some people would think Latin jazz, oh, it could be boring, or it's like, oh, it's soft. And no, with him it was deep, it was heavy.
What made it deep and heavy?
The closeness to Africa. You know, even though, but he was very modern still, in the sense of the musicality and the music. Having a Latin jazz band, you know, I traveled with him, but like the music itself was it's super cool. He had some songs that are very popular, like that everybody played. You know, and people still play those songs that he wrote, a percussionist. You know, and it's deep. It was really fun.
Can you so you briefly mentioned the history. Do you know a lot about the history of like salsa and stuff? No? Okay. Well, I am curious, so if you don't mind, I kind of wanted to ask about it. So can you talk about the history of salsa and how much you know about it and how that contributes to the way that you play it and the feeling that you get playing it, knowing how much is backed by it throughout history?
That's a long answer. I'll try to keep it brief. Like I mentioned earlier, slaves brought over their rhythms and some of their harmonies and melodies. And from there, it turned into, they blended their stuff with a lot of the Spanish culture. So, for example, in Cuba, there's a guitar called a tres, and it's 3 pairs of strings. And what it is it's tuned to what the blacks heard, but it's a guitar. The African people didn't have guitars. You know, the Spanish did. So they put their tuning, what they knew, their harmony, on that guitar. And so what came out of there is what you call guajeos or montunos, and there's a lot of different areas in Cuba that had that guitar. And you had music in the mountains that was called changui, and it's very like ding ding ding, like a lot of upbeats. Ding 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 ding, just like with maracas and voice, and they use like a big like a thumb piano, but a big one for the bass. Ding 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 ding. You would sit on it and like tap the side and play the big old keys, and like your thumbs get all messed up. And then that guitar was also used in other areas in Oriente, and that's where they came up with what's it, the guajira, or yeah, guajiras, which is like a slower salsa, you know, to put it in a broad term, which is more like dun gun ding gun dun king dun king dun king gun gun dun king gun dun king dun king gun cha cha dun king ta ba ding dun, a lot slower. And then I mean, compared to the changui, and then what you had in Cuba was a rise in culture and their society, and you had blacks playing for whites, you know, just like they did here in like the swing days, you know, at the Cotton Club and stuff. It was always Duke Ellington's band was black, and they couldn't go mingle with the people or even have a table, and they had to always be in the back, and you know, kind of the same concept, same era even. And so you had these like society clubs, you know, where they would get all dressed up and, you know, go dancing, and they wanted, like, okay, well, each of those clubs had their own song. You know, somebody wrote a song for that club, and there was a bunch of different clubs, you know, and that's why you have names like Isora Club, like that's a song, you know, and that style that they used for that was a mixture of violins, and they used to use timpani drums, the big ones, and those ended up turning into timbales, which are the two drums that you see in salsa music now, like modern salsa. And the violins, cello, upright bass, acoustic upright, and it was more like a classical, doom 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 doom, with the flute, beep boo, doo 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 doom doom doom, doo 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 doom, almost like a tango, or you know, something like that. And then they would have a section that was called like a mambo, and that section was like the groove. It was like, oh, there it is. That's where we were going with all the other stuff, you know. So you had this like long intro, which it seemed like an intro, and it gets to that one section, and it's like, oh yeah, that's it right there. It's very African, very repeated. So then they have singing over it. Son de almendra guayabo, son de almendra guayabo. That's where cha-cha-chas came out of. And then, but that's just in Cuba. So like, you know, Colombia had their own, Puerto Rico had their own, the Dominican had their own, you know, everybody had their own development of their mixtures. And then when it came to the US, there was salsa. They called it salsa. And there was a lot of Puerto Rican bands coming to the US, a lot of Cuban bands coming to the US, musicians coming to the US. Francisco Aguabea, the percussionist I played with, he came when he was really young, like pretty young, I think 20 years old or 22. And first thing, boom, in a movie, playing drums. You know, first thing, and then from there he took off. You know, it was something that was wanted, the commercialization of it all. And that's how salsa became salsa. You know, now they're mixing everything and making almost pop-like, you know, but still hanging on to all those roots.
Yeah. So it sounds like for you and your relationship with salsa, a lot of it, I don't know about a lot of it, but at least a part of it comes from the knowledge of the history and like what came before.
Yeah, there's an appreciation of that I have for it.
But also your dad, right? His dad was a musician.
Yeah.
You should tell him your dad's influence to salsa.
I mean, he would show us Tito Puente, he listened to Tito Puente. His best friend ended up playing congas with Cal Jader, very popular vibraphone player, had his own band for many years. You know, they were really into it, and he grew up in Norwalk in the one ways, where it was like, you know, a serious barrio. It was like some hardcore stuff there, where everybody wanted to be a cholo. And my dad was a musician. He had his own band at age 16. Everybody, all his friends wanted to play with his band and be in his band. And he, you know, he would like, he had a surfboard, and he would hitch a ride with, you know, thumb up, hitch a ride all the way over here to the beach to go surf in between the pier, you know, to go through the pier and stuff. That's what he did for fun. You know, he didn't want to be a cholo. He didn't want to wear the khakis and the white shirt, because that's what was happening at that time in the 60s when my dad was growing up. And so he was...
Norwalk is here in California, like same area that we all grew.
So he was, yes, yeah. So he was very, he had a lot of variety. You know, he didn't want to do the normal thing. Kind of like what happened, I guess, with you and being in Colorado. You're like, everybody's normal. I don't want to, there's nothing here. There's nothing to it. You know, you can do what everyone else does. That's kind of boring. You know, and I'm not saying, oh, you need to try to, like, you know, be original or whatever, but do what you feel, you know, make yourself happy. Don't get it from seeing other people doing it. And that's what I learned from my dad. And so that's why we got into Latin jazz music. He showed us that. He showed us swing music, blues. Like any classic rock or rock that he showed us was blues influenced, you know, which most classic rock is. You know, all the Doors stuff is all blues influenced. So yeah, he had I was 3 years old and I had a guitar, you know, a little acoustic guitar, just I was jamming on it, like whatever, you know. He would play with us all the time. We played harmonica, tambourine, bongos, drums, everything. Just he let us try it all out. And then sure enough, because I have two older brothers, we ended up with like a little power trio. One of my brothers on guitar, me on bass. I was 9 years old, and my other brother on drums. And like to this day, them two and I can get together and just play anything pretty much. You want some oldies, you want some Misfits, you want, you know, some Rage Against the Machine, some Doors, what else? Any like old obscure blues stuff, Beatles.
The variety's crazy. Yeah. It seems like. That's pretty incredible that you have such a variety and a range of being able to play and have the feeling, because I grew up playing violin, so I have like the classical background, and when I tried to like play other things, even just like plucking around on like a keyboard or a MIDI, whatever, I realized how different the feeling is between the different genres of music, and how honestly it seemed like to me that it takes different types of personalities to really become the best at those, because they fit people so independently.
That's very true, yeah.
So I admire your ability to be able to go between them, because I think that takes a lot of skill.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like I said, it keeps you busy because you don't want to be bored. But like what you said right now kind of reminds me of like classical music, and how they had different eras. And the composers wrote differently, and the players had to bring that out, you know. And it was like all of a sudden they're doing this, you know, like the composer wrote something like that's never been done before. It's like, how do you execute that? You gotta like, you know, figure that out and really try and get into it, you know. But yeah, what you said just reminds me of that, just the different eras and how certain classical music feels different than, you know.
I think it also,
or whatever, you know.
It also helps that because, you know, we grew up with two cultures. You know, we have the Mexican influence from our family, plus the the influence from California specifically.
Yeah, America is just...
And you grow up with both of those things simultaneously. You know, your parents too. Your parents adopt the culture, and that's what you're hearing all the time. You know, my dad came to this country when he was 14 years old, and he listened to both. He listened to Led Zeppelin and he listened to mariachi. You know, that was he knew how to sing songs in English, but he didn't speak English. You know, because he loved all the rock. He loved the Beatles. He loved all that. He had all those records. Plus, he had all the music from his own country. And then they have children, and we grew up listening to both of those things simultaneously. Plus, whatever you get in school. You see, so you sort of adopt. It becomes you. I didn't grow up with salsa. And so when I met him 5 years ago, I had heard it, but I didn't grow up with it. And I tried to play the music. It was very hard for me. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it.
What was your background? So if it wasn't salsa, what did you grow up with? And then, you describe that transition into...
So I grew up with rock, and when it came to music in Spanish, it was cumbia, which is like a reggae kind of feel. So rock, reggae, and cumbia was the Spanish, Spanish type of music that I listened to, or Spanish rock, you know? So it was those things together. So salsa with all the African influence, I didn't get it at first. It took me a long time to learn how to play the clave. You know, like I just didn't get it. Like it was so bizarre to me, but after 4 years of trying, it becomes you eventually. So like, you know, you sort of mentioned about the violin and trying to play. It eventually becomes you if you just keep doing it all the time. You know, it took me about 4 years to play that.
And it's crazy. For those who are just listening and not watching, can you describe what clave is? Like actually what they are? They're just two pieces of wood.
Yeah, they're just two pieces.
On the surface level, I'm saying. So it's pretty cool that like it took me 4 years to learn this instrument, which on the surface, like you'd think that it's just banging two sticks together objectively, but it's so much more than that, because I think you mean by learn the clave is like you learned the heart of the music, because clave is so essential to salsa. So you're learning the heart of salsa, which enables you to play and feel salsa, not just like play the sticks.
And everybody notices that you're off if you're off.
Yeah.
And it's a syncopated beat. So it's not like just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4.
Yeah.
1, 4. You're on the end of 2 and then 4. And it's not an easy beat. And you are, like you said, the heartbeat of the music. So everybody knows when you're off. So it was a lot of pressure to jump into that and try to learn it and keep up with everyone. And even the singing too. I still haven't ventured into singing salsa, you know, because I'm still learning that.
Yeah, the singing is really difficult, and a lot of singers will actually play clave and sing. There's a style called rumba from Cuba, which is very African, and they took a lot of the same thing, the religious rhythms, and they made them into a regular social fun thing. And now the word rumba kind of means like, hey, it's a party. You know, they'll use the term rumba as, let's go to the party, let's go to the la rumba. And that's just like percussion only. There's no stringed instruments, and it gets crazy. The syncopations, the conversations between the drums and the singer, and what they do is a lot of times the singers, in between the chorus, which is repeated over and over, but will eventually change into another one, the singers improvise in between. So not only are they singing like rhythmically to this, but they're singing harmonically and melodically correctly also. And there's no instruments that they're referencing. So they just memorize.
It's incredible.
Yeah. To see those groups live is amazing. To have them actually, there's a group called Los Muñequitos, and they were here like in 99, 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. And my brothers and I actually hired one of the percussionists to come play a gig with us. And that was just totally different. Totally different groove. But it's still following this. It's still following
the heartbeat.
The heartbeat, yeah. So within this, though, you can have a sad heart. You can have a broken heart, or you can have a heart that's like really strong and pumping. Like you're going to work or you're working or something. So there's different like grooves that go around it. and there's different feelings that go around it. But this is always there, and there's different ones, but it's the key.
Yeah.
The clave is the key.
So when you approached learning the clave, like the heart, what is clave? Is clave have a transition? Not a translation.
Like the key.
Translation. That's clave is key. Okay, got it.
Right?
No, not llave. Clave, like the code.
The code.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, I like that. So Lorenzo, you just talked about how you have sad heart and like happier hearts and like different versions of feeling based on solely the clave. How did you go about learning that? Because I think teaching feeling through percussion, especially when it's because I think you could teach a feeling through percussion with a drum set versus one clave, which is one singular tone. I feel like it'd be easier because you have the rate of the drums, the certain tones and whatnot. But when you have a singular tone, it just seems fairly difficult, obviously.
Well, yeah.
You need other instruments.
Yeah. The other instruments play around it and make that into something else.
Okay. So they invoke the feeling.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
But the clave is still there, but you can't just play, like real stiff clave over something that's not like that, something that's real flowy, and you have to be able to play the clave with the song, and that's like a more modern concept, in this style of music since probably like the 40s, maybe the 30s, that was being developed with trova music. Right, the like,
20 años, is that what
yeah,
you're thinking
yeah.
of? That was like more of a tango.
Yeah, but it's from Cuba. Yeah, more like a tango feel. So there's different claves, but the songs will really bring out the emotion. So she's a singer, and that's what she focuses on. I'm a bass player. I focus on the groove. The bass is like the bridge between the percussion and the harmonic and melodic instruments.
So for clave, it helped me to listen to the bass, because the bass will sometimes mimic the clave. And then from there, I had to start listening to the conga and learn the patterns and figure out how the clave fit in with their patterns. And then it also fits in with the tres, with the montuno, which play a montuno. So that's a montuno. It's just a pattern.
This is so cool.
So you see, I know now if I listen to it where it falls with that pattern. So you end up having to pick out the instruments and let them, and just become familiar with all the patterns that everybody's doing and where this fits in all of those patterns. But I really had to break it down and I started with the bass, because my background was in reggae. I had a reggae band, okay? Before
Really?
I met him, yeah.
Wow.
It was
That's
a reggae band. So I was reggae is very bass heavy. So I was very familiar with that. Hearing the bass and following the bass. And so I started listening to his patterns first, and then the conga, and then the tercero, and then eventually it all started making sense. But it's
Coming
like a whole
together,
other
yeah.
language. It's a whole language, and you really have to listen to the music every day so that you can start understanding what's happening. It's so many things going on in that music.
Yeah.
So
Percussion-wise,
many with
so
the
many different
percussion.
rhythms.
Yeah, sometimes we have friends come watch us, and they happen to be, we know a lot of percussionists, and they'll just jump on stage with us, and we can have like 5 percussionists on stage, and everybody's doing a different thing, and it sounds even better,
Yeah, but it's because of the code. Everybody's following that, everybody's conversing and playing around that.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I wanted you guys to both talk about earlier, Lorenzo, you mentioned, you talked about your unique sound and how different people with unique sounds come together in a group. And I wanted you both to talk about and describe your unique sounds. And you kind of both just briefly describe the background, but also like the instruments you play, why you play them, what you feel like you contribute to the band when you're playing. Vanessa, you want to start us off?
Okay, let's see. I think the sound I mean, I've been in rock bands, and I've been in the last thing I did before Los Vecinos was a reggae band. It was actually a Christian reggae band, so it was a spiritual reggae. And even to that, I brought my own sound because I didn't try to sound, Jamaican or anything. It was more like Billie Holiday meets reggae, like that kind of style. It was more jazzy reggae. I think we called it eclectic reggae. So I brought that, and plus my love for mariachi is what I bring to the band. I think.
And that just came from growing up?
From growing up in a Mexican family, like mariachi I loved it. I just loved listening to my father sing it, to popular artists sing it. It was something that always felt so special to me. So to the band, I think I bring that uniqueness, and in my singing, like when I sing some of the standards that they do, I think because I'm not raised in salsa, I don't try to make it sound like what the covers sound like we'll say like quizás, 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 that song?
I think I do. I think it's the really stereotypical salsa song. Yeah.
It was done in English by.
Yeah. What was that popular band that did it in English, but in a rock kind of way? I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know. I forgot. Anyway, so I think I bring a unique sound with my voice. I don't try to sound like a typical salsa singer because I don't sing salsa, but when I do standards like that in the boleros, like popular songs like Sabor a mí and what other one, Bésame mucho, all those songs, I think I bring my own unique sound to it, and I think it's refreshing to the band. I play clave and I play maracas, and I am learning how to play that one now.
What is that?
The Guido.
The Guido. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Guido?
Guido,
Guido.
With the G, but yeah, Guido.
Yeah, the wrong way of saying it is Guido. I apologize. The Guido.
With an R, Guido.
Guido.
So, I tried to fill in the percussion because we usually just use 4 people in the band. So somebody has to play percussion. The singer plays. We have 2 singers, Mia and the main singer, which is usually a man. And we both play percussion along with the conguero, to fill in what the sound. I play the guitar. That was before I learned to sing, I learned to play the guitar first. And I do that only in a couple songs, just when we do the mariachi. Were you there when we did mariachi in summer?
I'm not sure.
It was at the end, I think.
I don't think I was there at the end.
Okay,
so I saw them actually. I don't know did we talk about this on the camera?
No.
But I saw Los Vecinos, these two, at my friend's birthday party in what was it called? South Lake? Silver Lake, and that's basically in LA. Like kind of near Hollywood area. I don't even really know LA that well. It was somewhere in LA, north of here, and I saw them and I picked up their card because I loved what you guys were doing. I thought it was super cool, and we were dancing along, and it was just a good time. And I just sent them a DM and sent you guys a DM, and here we are. So thanks for that. Psyched to be here.
Were you at the party in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
My buddy Alex, he didn't want to dance at all. And then I was dancing with my girlfriend and then my other friend Sasha. And then there was the little kid.
Okay, I remember now. Yeah,
there's the little kid with Sasha and Juliet, and I was just kind of I was just being a goon, but I do that a lot, so It was good.
Yeah, that's what I like about the music we play is it makes people happy, and we can play some really like sad songs too. We can make people cry, but the venues usually want some uplifting music, and we can bring it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, can I just add to that? So, like, as a musician, your job is to manipulate the energy in the room.
True.
Right? So we're there.
What a cool description.
Yeah, we are there.
That's awesome.
Especially him and I, we're the main ones in the band who who start pushing the energy. And then usually the rest of the band members will follow along with us. Eventually they will, but we're the ones who are active at, okay, let's get this vibe going, and we will feed off each other first.
Yeah.
And then we'll push that energy out to the people, and then hopefully you guys will pick up on it, and then it comes back to us, and then it just keeps feeding. We start this cycle of feeding off of each other, But it takes, we are aware of it, and we create it. And that's our job as musicians, is to create that vibe. So we, like he said, we can make you cry. We can make you happy. we manipulate that. It starts with us.
One thing that I connect with that in my influences and what I've listened to before is punk rock. Because punk rock is just very passionate, very mad or angry or one of those emotions.
Oh yeah, I forgot about punk rock. We both grew up with punk rock in high school too.
Yeah,
that's another influence.
I played in a punk rock band, and we did the backyard parties, and that always ended with the police and knives and bombs.
Both those.
But the music was like you wanted to get a point across. Our singer would come up with lyrics, and then we would come up with riffs for it. Try to match it. Is this really, really angry? Or is this kind of like a little slower, or like what's does it need to build? Where's it going? And when you play that music live, it's just like you're putting everything out. All your energy is just straight out. Like the Ramones, that was one thing. Like if you read any of their books or watch their documentary, they talk about that. Like that was their presence on stage, putting their energy outward. And it was a lot of angry music or whatever, but I feel that I learned from that, because you can get people to run around in a circle and hit each other. And, if you can get them to do that, then you can get them to get up and dance a few steps, or cry a little bit. And that manipulation is just, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. Because sometimes, like, you're playing in front of thousands of people, and then, like, being the bass, it's like, you don't only hear it, you feel it. That you feel it the most.
He's the heartbeat of the music, really. More than the clave, I think it's you, the bass.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, the influences of the band and like the sound is that's one of them. Like putting your energy outward. And I really like honed in on that and learned that from playing punk rock. I started playing like real basic stuff when it comes to this style, salsa or Latin jazz or Cuban classic son, or son cubano. You start with the real basic stuff, and from there it develops into more modern stuff. So because we're not living back then with the basic stuff while it's happening and then growing up with it, what happens a lot is people will learn the modern stuff first. And it's like, well, no, you're not going to completely understand that unless you really know and understand the older stuff. You're not going to understand modern Cuban salsa, which they call timba. You're not going to understand it rhythmically or harmonically if you don't know older style Cuban music.
Yeah, to see the progression and see what is now, like why things they are now, you have to look back at why they were that then.
Yes, yeah. And like you can think of like reggaeton, they use so many different older styles, and the best artists, if you really listen to them, the beats and stuff that they use, they get colorful with it, and they take all that color from older styles.
Color, yeah.
Yeah,
it really is. It's colorful. That's such a cool description. Yeah, awesome. Should we learn some instruments? Did I interrupt you? Did you want to say anything?
No, that's pretty much. I mean, I can go on and on, but
yeah, your passion shows.
Well, so like with like Los Vecinos, the point is to like play almost an older style.
Yeah. Why does that appeal to you, or to Los Vecinos?
It's easy to control the group. It's easy to like I can write out the charts. I don't use horn players, so I don't have like a horn section. that I have to cue and do all this other stuff and wave my hand around and like
You're
playing
not
with my brother. I
conducting
just give him a
while
look,
Yeah.
and then we move on to the next part.
Yeah, he's the band leader, so he tells the rest of us what's coming up next. Like it's happening in the moment. Like, okay, everyone is always has their eye towards him, wherever he is, if he's on the side, and he says, "Okay, we're moving on to part B now."
And if I want to change it, if I feel like, hey, you don't need a solo on this one now, or hey, let's go straight to this part, or let's wait on this, or take a longer solo. If I feel that, then I'll let it happen. But I need to let everyone know.
But it's a feeling.
It
comes from a feeling.
Yeah.
That's
The songs,
so cool.
the songs are almost there's a form already there, but they're also being created on the spot. Because they can be expanded or shortened or whatever he
Layers
decides
on
to
top
do,
or whatever.
or all
I
of a sudden,
love that.
yeah.
I think I don't know. The more I get into, because I'm in film mostly, I have like dabbled in music here and there, but the more I just get into creativity in general, right? I just think it's so amazing that there are things that can expand like on the spot in the moment. It's like it's a feeling that you get when you're doing something that'll enable you to just make things up, like improvisation and that, and it's between the players and everyone together is just having this vibe, and then that's so strong that like you were saying, you control the vibe of the room, and then literally people physically come up close to you because they're like, this is sick.
Or they move.
Yeah,
I mean, like you guys came up to dance, right? You felt our energy,
totally.
like started.
I was like, this is kick ass. I want to go dance. And I don't know anything before this conversation. I didn't know anything about salsa, but I could feel it regardless. I didn't need to know the history or anything, but it was just the feeling.
Right.
That's incredible.
That's pretty amazing. I know, right?
It's super cool. But
and it gives us purpose. That's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
That's our purpose. Is we are the energy manipulators of the room.
High five to that.
Oh yeah.
That's
You
awesome.
can't walk into a gig all like,
You gotta be like,
Gotta be on it.
You gotta say
you
hi
gotta
to
be on
everyone,
it.
like-
You gotta be ready. You can't come in with issues that are weighing down on you.
The energy manipulators.
Yeah.
That sounds like a team for like a middle school basketball team.
Yeah.
We are the energy manipulators. But so yeah, I guess honestly we haven't even really talked about Los Vecinos, so I kind of want to do that also. As far as it's the neighbors. But you said you don't include the horns, and that's for a certain reason. And what music, like, genres do you play? So you play salsa, but are you making originals? Are you playing covers, or kind of how does that work? All those things.
They're mostly like standards, but standards in like the Cuban sense. So in Cuba, there was a lot of songs that developed out of those little sections. That were like I said, was like, oh, this is the part, this is where the song led to. Songs developed out of that. There's whole albums where artists chose just those parts, repeated over and over, wrote some lyrics to it, did solos, a little break, and that's the song. And with that, you can you can manipulate it. And if you have horns, then you have to have an arrangement. You have to have this many parts, or this section, this many, that many. But the music is mostly Cuban son, and which is what salsa comes from. So within that, though, we can play salsa songs. We can play New Yorican salsa. We can play Colombian songs. We can play cumbias, and what else? We can do a merengue if we want. Because salsa
They're like
bands.
all Afro-Cuban.
Yeah,
Basically,
basically,
rhythms all have Afro-Cuban rhythm, I guess.
Yeah. And then we do have some originals that she wrote, and we play them sometimes, and people like them. And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
Heck yeah. All right, should we play some instruments?
Yeah, let's try it.
Cool.
It's on.
All right. What's up? We're Los Vecinos. They are Los Vecinos. I am learning, though, and I'm very excited. This could be cool. So what do we got?
Well, let's learn how to hold the clave, I guess.
Okay, we'll start there.
So you gotta develop, make a little cup, kind of like that. Yeah. And just kind of put it there, and you're gonna play like right next to your fingers. So you're not really squeezing it. It's just kind of setting there, but you're just holding it in place. Because that's how you get that round sound. Otherwise, it's I can't even not.
It gets muffled. Yeah.
You don't hold it like that. You gotta. So okay, you're gonna learn 2-3 claves. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, da, 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 da,
Yeah, you got it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes. Ready?
You gotta count it though. You can't
Okay,
just
1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heck yeah!
And
That was so cool. Thank you. That was so.
Yeah.
sick.
So
That's
Heck
pretty
yes, good stuff.
yeah, it's just a few instruments, but the different rhythms,
Yeah.
it just gels together and it just
Totally, yeah, combines and.
they add a melody and that's it.
So that was Kumba, you said?
Rumba.
Rumba. Okay.
Oh no,
No?
you were playing 2-3 clave. I just sang a rumba melody.
you sang.
Oh, you sang
Okay,
rumba.
got
Sorry.
it. So
Yeah,
so
I'm
is
still
that all the
learning.
instruments that you add on into doing that or no?
No. Actually, you
No.
play a different rhythm with the clave.
For rumba, yeah.
So rumba is a different rhythm for that
There's
song.
3 different kinds basically of rumba, but for something the most popular one is called wawanko, and it's usually fast. So that one's a little later.
It swings.
Get the get the
It gets harder, huh?
Okay. I lost it. It's so my like mind is like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4.
Exactly, right?
It's so hard to get out of that.
I know.
Like the
Yeah.
swing, like late beat. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's
a
another
trick.
thing about this music is it's not laid back like blues or reggae or swing music. Swing is like da 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 da. You can really like drag a swing rhythm, and this music is just like it's more
You're
push.
on it.
You're on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. All right. What else? What else should we play?
You want to play a song?
You want to do Dime Por Qué?
Sure.
Because it's a cumbia. It's an original song. We mixed cumbia with a little bit of what you call it, son, in the inspiración.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a section of Cuban son that's called inspiración,
Okay.
and that translated means inspiration. And so that's when the singer
He's rapping.
kind of not raps, but makes up something on the
Yeah,
spot, like
okay.
gets inspired. I don't know. And religiously, is that when they would like in in their religion. Did that mean something else? Inspiración?
No, that's more of a modern.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we kind of mixed cumbia with Cuban son.
So like cumbia has its own. It's not really a clave.
No,
It's a,
so this cumbia is more like reggae
pattern. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a repeated pattern though.
That's why it was easy for me to adopt that song.
And that's just the one.
Yeah.
So
So
you can
it's
play
kind of
that
reggae,
on
you know?
That's
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
I'll play that thing.
Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Dun, 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 dun. You need your music?
No. What?
Oh.
Start again. 1.
What are we doing?
2. Oh, 1,
Oh.
2, 3, 4. Da 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 da. So 1, 2, 3.
Lloro, lloro por mi gente y la pobreza que aceptan inútilmente. Lloro, lloro por mi gente, puras mentiras que miran en la pinche tele. Dime por qué es así. ¿Qué tengo que hacer para que me creas a mí? Dime por qué es así. ¿Qué tengo que hacer para que me creas a mí? Lloro, lloro por mi tierra, porque seguimos contaminando por feria. Lloro, lloro por mi tierra, puras porquerías venden en la pinche tienda. Dime por qué es así. ¿Y qué tengo que hacer para que me creas a mí? Dime por qué es así. ¿Y qué tengo que hacer para que me creas a mí? Lloro por ti, que te están matando. Lloro por ti, si te están engañando. Lloro por ti, con maíz diseñado. Lloro por ti, todo contaminado. Lloro por ti, controlando tu mente. Lloro por ti, que le has hecho a mi gente. Lloro por ti, no le mientan a mi gente. Lloro por ti, no le dejen a mi gente. Lloro por ti, no se deje, no se deje. Lloro por ti, no se deje, no se deje. Que no se dejen, 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 van matando, se están engañando, con maíz diseñado, por contaminado, controlando tu mente, que le has hecho a mi gente. Dime por qué es así. ¿Y qué tengo que hacer para que me creas a mí?
Wow. Nice job,
Thanks.
both of you. That was so cool. Thank you for.
So that's cumbia.
Yeah. That was incredible. So wait, was that your?
That's my song, yeah.
You wrote that song?
Well,
Yeah.
we wrote it together, but yeah.
It's so good. That was awesome. So you've been doing salsa for 4 years or 5, and how long has Los Vecinos been a thing? You say 4 or 5 years?
Longer.
Longer,
As
okay.
a business, about 4 or 5 years.
Okay. So can you talk about Los Vecinos as a business, and then I guess just kind of music as a business for you and for you also, and how you kind of go about doing that?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. Sometimes I'm sitting there like making posts or whatever for like an hour just because I don't like the way it looks. You know?
Yeah, no,
and that's
I get
why
that, yeah.
that's why people hire graphic artists, and you know, they come up with great ideas like just quickly, you know. But it's, you know, it's taxes, it's all that stuff. Yeah, scheduling, musicians is tough.
Oh yeah,
'cause
there's a
sometimes
shortage of those.
Really?
They'll bail on you sometimes, you know, they're like, oh, I can't do it, or oh, I'm sick, something will happen, you know, and it's like the day before, you know, and you're like, oh man, and it's a Saturday night, everybody's already working, you know, and that's tough to find.
There's only so many that we use
Yeah.
that we're comfortable calling last minute, or that, you know, that are familiar with the group. So it's not like we can just call a random person and then try it. That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't like to do that. And
So-
there are bands out there that do that,
Yeah.
but they play strictly covers,
Yeah.
like salsa music, larger band. And,
Whereas
know,
you
just-
need the neighbors. You need to know the neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
And luckily, we've always found somebody. There was only one time that I can think of that we had to cancel the gig because we couldn't find a replacement for our piano player.
Yeah, and it's you can't stress about it either. You know, there's usually it works out. It almost always works out. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to stress about it a little bit at first, and then I realized no, but there's always a way. There's always a way.
how did you start getting gigs, and like, are you interested in talking about this side of music, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the gigs came. Just
'cause
like
people
word
out
of
there
mouth.
might know.
Word
Okay.
of mouth. Like somebody would recommend me. You know, they knew I had a group, or my brother and I, and the group would say like just developing. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, we used to play regularly at restaurants, and like sometimes 4 nights a week, huh? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes 4 nights a week, and it was a steady thing, very corporate because it was from a large corporation that owned the restaurants, in that sort of sense. But our job was to have fun, still, you know, on stage, you know. But behind the scenes, yeah, you take care of everything. Got to schedule, got to do all that stuff. Make sure everyone's there on time. Make sure they get their food, their meal, if that's, you know.
Yeah, sometimes that's part of the payment is the free
Really?
meal.
There you
yeah,
go.
like they cash and then the free meal
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then sometimes they give us free drinks. So, well, I mean, what I always say is like, how many jobs can you actually drink on the job? Like they give us beer, you know?
Yeah, you can go on stage with
We
that.
go
Like,
on stage with
they
beer,
want,
you know?
They want us to have a good time.
Yeah,
Because if
they
we're up
want-
there all sad and stuff, then
They want us all
Stiff.
lively, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
give us free drinks sometimes, not all the time, but usually at least we'll get one free drink.
Yeah.
Can't drink too much because then you won't be
Then
able to
you're
play.
performing my lack. There's diminishing returns
Yeah.
over time. But so yeah, the business side, you like word of mouth, networking.
yeah. I have a friend who recommended me for the restaurants that I'm working at right now. 2 different restaurants.
A lot of times it was friends who they knew that they needed a band. They say, oh, they recommended us, you know. And we get a lot of gigs just by playing restaurants and putting the cards out, like the way you got. You like just
Private
our cards
parties.
are right
Shout
here.
out to the cards.
Private parties, yeah, a lot of private parties that way. You know, they see us and they ask us, hey, do you guys do private parties? Yes. We love private
and
parties.
then that's a whole business, working that out. Time, the place.
You know.
Sometimes they ask for requests. You know, sometimes it's something like odd for my group, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Like I had somebody ask for Beatles. Oh, can you play a couple of Beatles songs?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, my brother and I can, but not in this band, you know.
It's kind of disrespectful.
Right.
They're asking for a lot, you know, and it's
That's just like saying, oh, I need musicians. It's
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
we'll get you musicians. It's like, well, they're more than just musicians. They this band plays this music for this reason.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it has this whole
It's a special
Feeling
thing.
We
to it,
specialize on
yeah.
a vibe, not
It's
not
I
any.
can play an instrument and here's. I did that too. I played violin and I like learned all these like Mozart and Beethoven, all those like classical pieces. And the people be like, "Can you play like Star Wars or like Indiana Jones?
Yeah, right.
It's like the theme song." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like 2 notes and then another. It's just. Yeah. But yeah. So you developed the business, and have you gotten to a point now? Are you cold calling like to people to be like, "Hey, do you need a person?" Or are people recommending you and then you're getting called for most of your gigs?
Well, working at the restaurants regularly, and then getting calls for other gigs from the restaurants, from clientele.
Okay.
And then I'm also working in other bands with Bulu Assassins and with Rumanquete. And then I will also freelance here and there with a couple different groups.
Like Afroson, Sangre Nueva. He'll be at the San Jose Jazz Festival this weekend with who? Two
Tomorrow.
bands, playing for 2 bands
There you
at
go.
the festival. So
That's
that
awesome.
is not Los Vecinos, you know. Like,
Yeah. So.
Do you like but you like playing for different bands?
Oh
just 'cause
yeah,
you get the variety?
yeah, because the variety. So like the first band I'm playing in, it's like Puerto Rican style salsa. The second band is modern Cuban salsa, like mostly original music. The second band.
Yeah.
And yeah, so totally different things. And then Bulu Assassins is a whole nother thing too, because we have a soul kind of vibe within the salsa music. You know, we don't just play salsa songs, and we have a lot of originals, and that's been a fun collaborative effort.
Yeah, they're like a crossover band. So if you like soul music, it kind of crosses over salsa. It's really cool. That's a band, if you ever get a chance to check out, you should. Where are you guys playing next? 9/11, 90.
Yeah,
Where at? though?
Commissary in Costa Mesa.
Cool.
Yeah,
Maybe
they're
go
cool.
check it
They're
out.
a really cool band.
Yeah, and that's the business side of that is that we're all partners in it. So whatever comes out of, you know, we all basically share
Yeah.
everything. You know, it's split pretty evenly. And we really play gig to gig. You know, that's how we get paid.
Yeah. Do you so what was the goal for you guys? Like when you were younger musicians and you say, "I want to do music," what was the goal? Was it to play music in any way, shape, or form, doing anything, or was the goal to like, "Oh, I want to become really popular and go on tour," and how did that manifest into what you do now for both of you?
Well, for me, I wanted to tour, and I wanted to tour doing my original songs. So, yeah, I guess it's just like be recognized creatively. You know, it was more of that kind of thing. And then I got more into spirituality, and then it became more of like reaching people for God. And then from there, that's when I met him, and then I discovered his type of music, and that like the whole joy that comes out of just making people dance, and then I just sort of switched over to that, and it's still spiritual to me, making people happy, you know.
Yeah.
It's just not so direct the way that, you know, gospel music is, you know, where you're openly speaking about God. This is more indirect. Yeah. Although the music can get very spiritual and political. Some of the salsa is actually, the words are actually
Fairly political?
yeah, political
Wow.
or spiritual. Yeah, they can go there with the music as well, but it's with this happy feeling, you know, alongside of it. So now for me, it's just something. It's more of a hobby for me. You know, I don't want to tour now. I don't like it. I don't like playing 4 times a week. It became a job to me, and I was not able to manipulate the energy, like I said, you know, like, so I don't like doing it all the time. I don't think that fits my personality. I need to keep it fresh all the time, and I need to keep doing new stuff. So I do it. In the summer I do it 3 times a week with him, because I don't work in the summers. I'm a teacher.
Okay, yeah, there's the answer.
Yeah. I'm a teacher, so I have summers off, and so summer I just go full on music because I have nothing else to do as well, and so
What
I
do you
can
teach?
I teach 3rd grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just everything?
Yeah, all the subjects.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. That's
all the
awesome.
subjects. Yeah.
Third grade.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't choose it. They gave it to
Oh,
me.
really? They
You
just
don't get to
gave it to you?
choose. You don't get to choose your grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait,
I can
beginning-
teach any grade between kindergarten and 8th grade.
Okay.
And it's wherever the school needs you.
Wow, so they're just like, third.
Yeah.
That's
That
nuts.
when I got hired, that's what they needed.
Yeah.
So that's what they gave me. You know.
That's crazy.
So yeah, so in the summers I really go for it, and I think that's also why it's been taking me so long to learn salsa, because I really only commit to it in the summers, and then during the school year I'm a little more
A
tired.
little busy. Writing
Yeah, I'm
tests.
tired, you know, so I'll only show up maybe on the weekend. We'll see how it is this school year. How many times I show up?
Yeah.
I was teaching Zoom University.
You know, it was horrible.
Yeah.
The whole everything that happened was horrible.
Yeah.
I did not. I felt very bad for the kids. The kids really suffered,
Oh.
and they didn't need to, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. But
Yeah. I was gonna say.
there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say, what was your?
For me, I never really probably because of my dad, I never really believed that there was making it, you know, and being popular wasn't something that I ever not even at school ever really wanted, you know, it's just was never attractive to me. And then I just found out that it's just the music that makes me happy, that fulfills me. It's the music. And so if I focus on just the music, it'll take me places. And wherever it takes me is wherever it's going to take me. And it's taken me to some pretty incredible places. I've had some wonderful experiences around the world. My brother even more so. And yeah, it's just, you know, I've been able to go places because of music. You know, so I just feel that that's a testimony to just keep focusing on just the music. If you look at other things, it gets in the way, and I don't know, you lose a connection, and you know, then you lose a connection with people, and it's kind of weird. It's I can't explain it, but just focus on the music. That's what makes me happy. There's nothing more than that. You know, not popularity. I mean, touring was yeah, I could tour, but it's not oh, I want to tour. It's no, I want the music to be played and to be heard. So that led me to doing tours or doing other things. And it's yeah, okay, if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes.
What is in the future for Los Vecinos and you two?
For Los Vecinos, I'd like to do an album, just put original stuff out there that captures the essence of what the group has developed or developed into. And I have a lot of singers I know, and I know they have many ideas, and we just got to get together and make it happen.
Yeah, we know a lot of the people we work with are very talented. I mean, just amazing singers, and you know, we've written songs and they have their own songs, and we need to capture all that, you know. And we've started recording, like the song that we played for you. We've recorded it. It needs to be mastered. We recorded another song. In fact, we're gonna meet up with the engineer next month to finish the songs. But we need to make a compilation of all the talent that we have in Los Vecinos. You know? We need to do that, and then just keep playing. I mean, just keep doing what we do.
Heck yeah. Any last words you guys want to say to the people out there? Thank you all for watching, by the way, and learning about all
Yeah,
this
we
with
hope
me.
to see everyone at one of our shows.
Yeah,
It'd be
go see them live.
super fun.
Yeah.
It was kick ass. I'm stoked I got to, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. It's always a good time. Always.
Yeah, we're at right now. We're in Whittier Costa Restaurant, and we play at Perla Azul in La Habra. Pretty much every weekend, one of the two places.
Yeah, and your Instagram is Los Vecinos, right? Just
Los Vecinos music.
music. Okay. Any underscores or anything, or
No.
Okay, all
No,
lowercase.
Los Vecinos with a C. VECINOS. I don't know if people will know that.
Yeah, I know. Good to clarify. Who knows? But awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. I learned so much, and that was just fun. That was so fun.
Awesome.
Like
Awesome.
playing salsa at a
That's cool.
podcast is
Right.
like incredible. Well, I guess we played. What did we
Cumbia,
play?
cumbia, yeah,
Thank you.
cumbia.
But yeah, that was incredible. Thank you guys.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks for watching.
having
Thanks
us.
for listening.
We had a good time too.
Bye.
Bye.